Are you ready for another journey into the digital world? Delving deeper into the topic of Web3 and artificial intelligence? In this episode, we have invited Director of Sorbonne Center for Artificial Intelligence, partner with True Global Ventures 4+. Her name is Mrs. Valerie Hawley. I am your host, Mr. Aurelius, and welcome to the Startech Podcast. Good afternoon, Mrs. Valerie. How are you?
Good afternoon. Very well, thank you.
Welcome to the Startech Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this podcast.
You're welcome. And also, may you please tell everyone and all the listeners out there who you are and what you're all about.
Thank you. So, good afternoon. I am Valerie Hawley. I am in charge of a Center of Excellence for Artificial Intelligence for the largest university in France, Sorbonne University. Sorbonne University has a campus here in Abu Dhabi, where they teach a wide range of skills and also artificial intelligence. And also, I am a partner in a VC fund, an affiliate partner for True Global Venture, which is a fund that is dedicated to Web3 and AI and generative AI. And we have very interesting company in our portfolio.
Wow, okay. Great profile.
Thank you.
Now, talking about Web3, I just want you to ask, how is Web3 different from Web2?
Well, I think Web3 is a third dimension. I mean, I think Web3 is the next phase of the internet. You can have everything in 3 dimensions. So your website, instead of being a website with a catalog of goods, and you can actually have 3D modeling where you can buy, you can feel how it feels to be in a car. And you can also have a very, very trusted way of paying, because the Web3 is on the blockchain, which is the layer of payment for the internet.
Okay. And since you actually mentioned about funding and also finances, may you also explain to all the people out there, what are the different types of cryptocurrencies?
Wow. Cryptocurrencies, that's a big topic. So a cryptocurrency is actually a money that has been digitalized. So in fact, it's not a coin that you can hold in your hand. It's a digital encryption. And you have different cryptocurrency. I mean, you have some that are linked to a fixed currency with for example, the dollar. It's called stable coin. So it's a digitalization of the dollar, for example. You have many countries that are looking at building this digital currency for their own currency, like the renminbi or some other currency in the world. And you have other currency like the blockchain, like the Bitcoin, which is a currency that is fully digitalized, and it's an encryption. It's a mathematical problem that is being solved on the web, basically.
Well, Mrs. Valerie, I want to ask, back in your childhood, were you ever a big fan of video games by any chance? Atari games, Sega Genesis, PlayStation, any fans of the video game era?
Not at all. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. I think it's more an attraction for boys than for girls. Also now, I think girls are playing on the mobile. You can see a lot of girls playing in the public transport. But generally, I think boys are more attracted by video games than girls.
Well, I just want to ask you this. Do you know the video game called Super Mario Brothers?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I know this one.
The reason why I'm bringing this up is because when it feels like when people talk about cryptocurrency, the game Super Mario, he chases after coins. These are digital coins. Yes. And the more he grabs these coins, the coins get higher and higher and higher. And it's just so strange that these games were made back in the late 80s, early 90s, and now that game has turned into a reality, or at least that aspect has turned into a reality, the way you're explaining it. It feels like cryptocurrency is sort of like a video game, but in business and also for a livelihood.
Yes, I mean, if you take, for example, the sandbox or some of this metaverse, you often, the gamers, the users are going on a quest, and on this quest, they actually collect coins, they collect sand, which is the underlying currency in the game, and they can buy some in the game asset, or what it's called NFTs, to play, so a skin for the gamer, or some other NFTs that enables them to reach different level and collect more coins. So it's very much what you describe is very much what's happening in the game nowadays on the blockchain, basically in the gaming industry, in the blockchain.
Okay. Mrs. Valerie, it seems like our next topic is going to be something that you're very interested in, because that is your profession, by the way. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence. So may you please share with us in your own words, what is artificial intelligence, and why should people care about AI in the future?
Well, if I may unravel what AI is, I think AI is it's only tools. I mean, it's a set of tools to analyze data and to extract insight and information out of a huge set of data. So it seems very mysterious at first, but I mean, if you really drill down, it's only a set of tools. The only thing that it has, it's able to deal with big, very large data set, and the bigger the data set is, actually the more accurate the algorithm it is. So that's what it is. I think it has a name that scares people off, that's for sure. And it could have been named something else, and I think it would have been more accepted. But definitely, people need to know about AI. They need to understand what is the future of AI, because it will have a big impact in the world. I mean, if I can take an example, for example, from the physics. I mean, physics is a science where you have laws that are predicting a phenomenon. So you input some data, you apply the laws, and you predict the output. And now, what's happening in this area is we collect data of this phenomenon that we are studying. And we take the input data, output data, and we try to find a link into these two sets of data. And this link is basically an algorithm, and we reapply this algorithm to a new set of input data, and that will predict the output.
Well, there are two questions I wanted to ask. I know I used the example, a video game example before, and I'm also going to use a movie reference.
Yeah.
So have you ever heard the movie called Inspector Gadget?
Yes.
Okay. Because I believe when I was a kid, Inspector Gadget had a car that could talk and drive. It was basically a smart car back in the 90s or back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So is that how the future is going to be? Like, when you're driving a car, your car can just drive for you automatically. That's going to be the norm. That's not going to be a rarity anymore. And you can also have conversations with the car.
Yes.
Is that a possibility?
Yes, definitely. I think we are very close to that. I mean, if you look at autonomous driving, you have a car that is smart already, that you don't need to intervene to be driven somewhere. And then with ChatGPT, you can also have a conversation with the car. So definitely. But I think the human skills are going to adapt to this new machine and to these new engines, and we will develop different set of skills. We won't need the memory, because the memory will be in the AI algorithm and its way of outreaching to data in the past and to predict some of the future. But we will develop a different set of skills. Okay.
And speaking of the video games reference, when you put a player into computer mode, it means that these players have a mind on its own. So let's say that you're playing one player and you're trying to go against another player, but that player has its own mind. This video game has its own mind.
Yes.
So is this like also another example of artificial intelligence back in the 80s and 90s?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can take the chess competitions that was played with DeepMind, with Google, and so on. And because the machine has all the different game situation in mind or in its memories, and it's able to analyze data very, very quickly, quickly. But the algorithm is always restricted to the number of variables and the parameters that it has been designed for, where our cognitive abilities have parameters that we use to take a decision, we use to assess a situation. That this number of parameters is much bigger than what we can input in the machine and that we even don't know about. So I think, but I think it's very important that human or people are being educated about AI, so that they become above algo rather than below algo. That's an expression that is used here quite a lot because AI is a big priority in this country. And I think there is a very strong will from the government to actually upskill the population so that they are very much they understand AI, how it works, how it can be applied, how it can be deployed, and so on.
So coming up next is about how global governments are using artificial intelligence technology into their own hands, especially Dubai. Like Dubai has become one of the main centers or the main hubs of the world advancing technology. Artificial intelligence, cryptocurrencies, Web3, you name it. Dubai wants to be the face of the future. So we want to ask you is especially here, how do governments here use artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I mean, I think the UAE wants to become a knowledge economy. So they have put a strong emphasis of all what is about innovation, about new technology, and I think they have. They looked into blockchain very early on to do a smart government. That has been a priority of Dubai for a long time, and in the vision of 2030, Abu Dhabi has declared that they wanted to be net exporter of technology by 2030. So they are very, very committed to really embrace this new technology, to use them, but also train people with this new technology so that it can be sustainable and they can be actually exporter of new tech. So, for example, the government has a ministry of AI.
Okay.
And there is a minister of AI. That's one. We're the first country to have a minister of AI. So I think this is very important. And then all the government employees are being trained at the moment as we speak in terms of AI.
Speaking about the Minister of AI, maybe just explain more who this person is and also what type of position, what type of jobs that he does.
Well, I mean, it's the Minister of AI in the UAE is His Excellency Omar Sultan Al Olama, and he's in charge of deploying and implementing or defining as well the AI strategy of this country, and making sure that the education in AI is strong enough, that it's something that is very present at the university level, deploying some programs for executive education, is also I think is also the embodiment of the strategy of the government in terms of the commitment to this technology. So is really important in the landscape of the tech landscape in this country. Yeah.
The key word you use is university.
Yeah.
And since your profession, once again, is artificial intelligence, we want to ask you the challenges of researching artificial intelligence or constructing artificial intelligence or innovating artificial intelligence. What are the challenges? What are the benefits? And what other fields can students or teachers delve into other markets, whoever is researching artificial intelligence?
Well, I think artificial intelligence is maths, basically applied mathematics, statistics, probabilities. So that's the core of what is being developed and deployed in the algorithm. So I think STEM, science, technology, and I don't know what is
science, technology, engineering,
and exactly. These subjects are very, very important at school. And so far that was not given the right emphasis in the schools, in the local schools. So the challenge is to bring this technical profile up to university so that then we can deploy a specific program in AI. We have at Sorbonne University, we have the first applied mathematics for AI bachelor degree. And in Abu Dhabi, there is a university of AI that has been set up, and they have master programs. The first cohort just came out in January. There is another cohort coming out in June. So there is a big effort in terms of education. And then the education leads to research. So the government has also put a framework together to enhance research in that areas and to apply different technology of AI to different fields, for robots, for drug development, for cybersecurity, autonomous driving, and AI now is used everywhere. You can't find any program university that doesn't use locally. Because it's the analysis of all the data that is being collected.
I'm really enjoying this topic because, again, I know I'm using a lot of movie references, but one of them I'm going to use is this. It was a Disney movie, very famous. I forgot the name of it. It was a very famous movie where the house, there was a robot, and she was also artificial intelligence. Either she was digitalized or she was robot 1 or 2. But her mind controls the entire house. She can control when the lights are on or off, when the water faucets are on and off, when the refrigerators are on and off, the security cameras. It turns out this is becoming a reality. So you also mentioned that maybe one day, or maybe we're already here, your own home can also be controlled by artificial intelligence, just by your voice or...
Yeah, I think we are here on that. You have a fridge, and you can take a picture of the fridge, and the app will let you know what you can cook with that. What is in your fridge, or make your shopping list. That's very real application of AI. But I think AI is already ubiquitous. The only thing is ChatGPT has made it even more obvious for a larger audience of what AI can do and what AI can create, basically.
Okay. So a smart house is what it's called.
Yes.
Smart house. Okay.
Domotic.
Smart car, smartphone, now we're having smart houses.
Yeah.
But do we have smart people? Of course.
Smart people is education.
And I also want to talk about Hollywood. Is that in Hollywood they made movies, Terminator, iRobot. They're not very favorable in the early days. They weren't favorable with artificial intelligence. Also use a positive note, like Inspector Gadget, that Disney movie, a Smart House movie. So I just want to ask you is what is your feeling about artificial intelligence? Is there anything that we were talking about the good side, of course, or is there anything like need of improvement or anything that you say to yourself, okay, we still need to develop more of this to make sure that artificial intelligence will not reach the Terminator level, so to speak?
Well, I think it's a hot topic. I don't know if you've seen, but in the news, some researcher in AI have put a petition together to say we need to stop. We need to put an halt on all the research work that is being on AI. Because it can end up in the wrong hand and be destructive. Every new invention, every new discovery has the potential to be badly used and badly applied. I think that's for sure a risk. I think we've gone too far in terms of collecting data, wanted to have even more data on the users, on the consumer, on the weather, on everything. That we won't be able to stop that. I think that's not possible, and researchers tend to have to be very curious people, and they don't worry. I mean, it's not they don't worry about the use cases, but they are looking to find something in terms of technology, tools, and so on. So yes, we can end up like this, and that's where regulation is so important. Ethics as well. Ethics is probably the first step before regulation, and I think in that field things have changed. It has we have come to a common understanding, perhaps, that the machine shouldn't replace the human, and that the decision.
You beat me to it.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that, but you beat me to it.
Exactly. That the decision needs to remain in the hand of the human. So AI can provide the tools, can help assess the situation, can help, but the final decision needs to remain in the control of the human. So, and you hear often the expression of machine-assisted decision or machine-assisted process, which means that the human has the last word and will take the final decision.
Oh, I love that. I love that philosophy. I love it. Now, finally, I want to ask you about companies or sectors. Which company or sectors, organizations are mostly dependent on AI?
Wow. I think AI is going to disrupt many industries in different ways. I mean, AI is also automation, so all the jobs that are perhaps low added value will be able to be replaced by AI, and then people need to learn new skills to know how to work with that AI. But definitely, I think everything will be somehow disrupted.
Well, you mentioned, I think, earlier part of the podcast that you said that artificial intelligence, if they ever change the name, I do have one idea. Smart. Yeah. Anything smart plus object, that should be the new name.
Yes.
Because the other movie, Tuxedo, is that there's actually smart clothes. If the person says off, their tie can go off. Their shirt can automatically, the buttons will go off, the shoes will go off or on. Yes, smart clothes. And that movie was made back in 2005. So it turns out that everything or every object is going to have a mind of its own. But as you mentioned as well, it should come from a human voice, or the human should still have the control at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think we need also to remind ourselves that the machine is only doing what we have taught her to do,
yes,
and doesn't have the full set of capabilities that the human has. I just give you an example. A machine can recognize that it's a cat or a dog because we have computer vision, and now we know that a machine can recognize if the picture that it's seeing is a cat or a dog, but it doesn't know if it's a cat or a dog. Knowing in the sense of the cognitive process of knowing that the dog can be angry, or the dog can be eats meat, or the dog does this or that. Mm-hmm. It's only able to replicate one of our senses, which is the vision, the sight. But it doesn't know that it's a dog. It sees a dog. I don't know if you see the difference, but I think it's a huge difference. And sometimes in the mind of people, it just merged together. If it's able to recognize a dog, it knows that it's a dog. But knowing that it's a dog is something different.
Okay. Mrs. Valerie, I just want to say you've been a wonderful guest in our show.
Thank you very much.
I've actually learned a lot, and I think also as well everyone else out there who are listening right now have also learned a lot. And also, is there any final word of advice you want to share to anyone out there?
Well, I think my last piece of advice, get on the train, look at this new tool, new apps, try them out, get comfortable with them, and work with them, because I think it's an exciting time for all of us to really embrace technology and make it for the good and not for the bad, obviously.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. Valerie. And we definitely want you to come back to our show next time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and exploring the world of digital art with us. There is more to explore every Friday. Remember to please follow us on Instagram, YouTube, all of your favorite social medias, or at Khaleej Times. Startech Podcast, we're out.